The buzzwords of our times, NFTs, the metaverse, generative AI, augmented reality, is becoming difficult to wrap one's head around them. So it's fantastic that people like Odeta Jacė exist and can explain things simply. Odeta is an innovation expert, currently based in Vilnius, Lithuania. She's also founder of the Future Insights agency StoryFounders, where she helps companies to elevate their marketing efforts. And Odeta is also an educator in the field of digital fashion and future of commerce. In this conversation, we explore a bunch of aspects helpful in discerning the signal from the noise when it comes to the emerging digital technologies landscape. Odeta, thanks so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure. And I just really want to dive into this. And I guess, could you first introduce yourself to people who don't know you?
Oh, first of all, hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's amazing when you're listening to this podcast. And thanks so much, ladies, for having me. And so I'm Odeta Jacė. Maybe I introduce myself. So I'm a woman in tech. I'm actually living and trying to navigate through two worlds, so digital and physical. And what I'm doing by day, so I'm a next generation tech experience strategist, innovation project manager, and I would say a bit of fashion tech catalyst, and working with future tech trends and how brands can leverage it. And as a founder of this Future Insights agency, StoryFounders, I focus on the future of consumer, of digital culture research and web-free, immersive tech inclusion into really brands' customer journey. Actually, I'm particularly, interested in all things immersive, like augmented reality, virtual spaces, avatars, gaming, virtual influencers, of course, generative AI, and what experiences can these technologies bring to our future consumer. And one of the pioneering industries where it can be applied is definitely fashion. So fashion tech, with all its physical, digital. I hope that we will talk about it also. If not, I will make sure that I include this into my answers, and digital innovation. So these are my passion, let's say.
You are really well versed in this domain. How did you first become interested in digital fashion? What is the relationship with fashion?
That's a good question because it started a while ago. Digital fashion first emerged in 2018 when Carlings, a Swedish-based company, introduced the digital fashion collection, and it's streetwear, based on streetwear, and it basically sold out in a couple of minutes or maybe hours. I'm a bit biased, super excited about digital fashion. But let me first introduce, and elaborate on what is digital fashion, just to be clear before we dive into this topic. So believe me or not, but we have been using, all of you, and in this call and who are listening, I hope, digital fashion since ages. Because the mediums of the usage were a bit different at that time, especially in gaming. So gaming has a huge potential in digital fashion. And inside gaming, we were creating our avatars with in-game scams, having all these stylist things and etc. But right now we have these multiple mediums where we have our digital, our presence. And I particularly like to focus on three of them. So first domain is in real life, which is basically, physical environments where we wear physical clothes, we shop in retail shops. We also focus more on experience because we have our self-reflections, for example, on the smart mirrors and all these tech in physical tech in physical world. The second domain is on real life, while the second identity, the second domain is bringing our physical bodies into digital spaces. So simply saying we use social media, for example, to create our alter ego sphere. And most of the people don't even understand or notice that actually we have our avatars, let's say, or our alter egos already on social media, because we already have our social media profiles, and we try to polish a bit, or on the different angle, not polish at all ourselves, and do something extreme on social media, or to show up as a bit different personality and identity that we have on physical world. So here most of the cases we use, for example, augmented reality and filters to overlay our pictures with digital fashion. So we can dress up our photos with even the AI-based tools and so on. And then last but not least, we have our third world or realm, which is URL, virtual identity and virtual realm, where we actually use our avatars or gaming characters here, and where we dress up with wearables, we collect digital things, we have in-gaming skins, and etc. So we enhance actually our lives using these different mediums. So fashion in all these realms are literally the part of self-expression and identity. So just right now just pop up to my mind the statistics, but because last year 20% of digitally aware people who are about age from 18 to 25, they're purchased physical clothing for the purpose of just taking a picture or video and posting it on social media. So I'm saying that this concept, especially for our own real life, using augmented reality filters, can really help to extend the vision of what is fashion and what kind of digital fashion options we can have for content creation, etc. But just to come back to your question, but it's not that idea, of the metaverse that appeals to me, or the digital fashion itself, but it's more idea of the spatial computing, for example, and augmented reality is one of the parts of it. So brands are fully immersed, in the exploration of the new untapped potentials of Web3, and I think we will be discussing it in public discussion. But some researchers even found, that half of millennials and Gen Zs think that their social media presence or online presence is even more important than their physical presence. So this is exactly where digital fashion comes in and gives options to extend the thinking of how these people can express themselves, not only physically, but also digitally.
So, now when I'm listening to you, it seems, at least I have this gut feeling that users, like there are different users who select more like taking physical body into social media and just dressing up, versus people who are actually interested in gaming and avatars. So like, do you have any idea what are those groups? Is it like one is more like, I don't know, for influencers, or like another is like for real gamers, or is it just like generation difference or like a gender difference? Like, what about the users that take those spaces?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, because, for example, we have different generations react to digital fashion and Web3, or all the spatial computing activations itself differently. For example, we have generation Alpha. If we start from the youngest ones that we have right now, if I remember correctly, it's around more than 50% of active Roblox users are younger than 30 years old, which is exactly Gen Alpha. And they are using everyday digital fashion on their avatars. They go to events and etc. Well, for example, Gen Z, if you look at this this generation, they, as I mentioned also before, the same as millennials a bit, they think that their social media profile or their digital identity is more important than the physical one. And it leads to the thing that they spend half, even 2 times more time, 2 times more time online, communicating and collaborating or, socializing with different people online than they usually do in physical places. And it, and here again comes another opportunity of digital fashion users to really showcase themselves with avatars, emojis, and etc. Maybe to show their different moods, their different ideas and expressions, and etc. Then if we move to a bit more older generation, like millennials, like myself, there was also a report, as I remember, 77 or 78% of the people who are millennials from this generation, they one way or another bought something in online space or in virtual shops. It also says that most of these numbers, of course, maybe they bought something physical or digital, it doesn't matter, but they still interact with digital realms and they are familiar of how to navigate through it, how to use it, and etc. And also very funny fact that I was getting to know last year that even younger generation, like Generation X, is the second biggest generation which owns NFTs, or they are super interested in digital collectibles. So all different kinds of generations, they somehow are still being linked to digital realm. And this is where digital fashion, or, if we talk about digital fashion, we can talk, about digital collectibles, or whatever, NFTs, about augmented reality, all these different AI powered solutions like avatars or etc. They can be endless interaction points between digital space and linking to multiple generations. So I think that every generation is affected from one end or another. If that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. And also just like a small question. So I think people are familiar with like gaming and avatars that you have to dress up yourself, like everyone, perhaps many people played Sims or something like this. But I think that now it's also changing, and there are like platforms where like digital fashion is introduced in very different sense. Can you tell us a little bit about those platforms and how we work? And actually, yeah, I think you know quite a lot about like it's moving away from gaming actually.
Gamification, let's define this. Like, gaming is one realm of the platform where we can play games, walk as an avatars. Is most of the times it can be closed ecosystem. But gamification of experiences, gamification of multiple processes, it can include anything from gaming, to NFTs as a loyalty programs. But and the main thing here is that with metaverse, with Web3, NFTs, and digital fashion, we have such a huge move from brands' perspective that they really watch the market, they see opportunities, and they really jump into trying it all. And this is why I really like fashion industry itself, because it's really trying to adapt, or to find new consumer. I'm not sure, from one perspective, I'm just answering a question and thinking also aloud. From one perspective, is amazing, that we are trying all these new technologies and etc. But from different perspective, the most of the times the goal is, to reach new consumer, to gain more revenue, and etc., which is also fine from business perspective, but not always fine from ethical perspective and etc. But let's not go there per this moment. So as a consequence, these brands try to explore multiple gaming, social interactivity platforms, and they literally tried it all. So if I would name a few, we simply start from accepting crypto as payments in their shops, or hosting fashion show, or showing their fashion collection and events in virtual spaces, like Dolce Gabbana did in Decentraland, even creating their own games like in 2019 or 2020, I think it was 2019, that Balenciaga created their own game, just a game. Gamers said that it's not a game, but it's a still gamified experience, gamified environment where shoppers, any kinds of shoppers, non-gamers, or simply anyone could go through the show and to feel as inside the game. However, it was still a fashion show, a fashion pop-up. Even fashion brands are also creating their own worlds. For example, like Gucci is having multiple Gucci Vault, Gucci Garden inside Sandbox platform and Roblox platforms. They can also create like virtual wearables, as Balenciaga, Prada, right now I think Detail already introduced their meta avatars. They can also create some virtual passes as Lacoste is doing, or multiple different things that lead up to not to the platform itself, but to the experience itself. And to coming back to your question that you asked, what kind of different platforms, what's the difference between gaming platforms like, Fortnite or Decentraland? So Decentraland, Fortnite, for example, is a closed ecosystem. And what do I mean by closed? So if we play a game inside that platform, what we own, what we purchase, what we achieve, like all the levels and etc., everything stays in that platform. Whilst we have Decentraland, which is purely decentralized platform for socializing. We can, of course, play games there. We can have parties. We can have our own buildings, cities, events, everything. Even we had, metaverse fashion weeks happening there. So what we own there, it's not only on that platform, but we also own it on our wallet, in crypto wallet. And it means that in case we would have some kind of a different platform, which also has the same infrastructure as Decentraland, it could be used on the different platform too. So once I buy some kind of NFT or wearable, once I Decentraland, I will see it out of the Decentraland in my wallet. And later on, we hope in the industry that we will have this interoperability that can be reflected on multiple platforms, and we can take all our data, all our content of the wallet, or in fashion terms, let's say all our wardrobe, to the different game and use it. So this is the main difference, that this is a closed system and let's say an open ecosystem.
And now, I still want to come back actually to your own personal experiences, because you've been mentioning kind of really nicely setting the context. I still wonder, is there, one event or experience or a piece of sort of digital fashion that really has made an impression on you? Could you share that?
That's a tough question, because there has been so many activations, shows, brands, even new digital native, Web3 native brands created from digital fashion perspective. But as I have been in this space for quite many years, I really like, and the impression leaves it on me that the digital fashion is growing up so well. And the most impressive thing is, how digital fashion brands are navigating and really recreating the fashion processes and trying to reinvent the industry itself. To be more sustainable, more personalized, more engaging. With digital fashion, one of a digital only fashion house, Fabricant, which I'm really a fan of, is saying there is no limitation in digital fashion, because the only limit in it is our imagination. So we really like that multiple different digital fashion houses, digital fashion brands really uses their own imagination to go out of the limits of a physical fashion and physical realm, creating flying dresses, on fire sneakers, or water based pants, and etc. But I also really admire, so the imagination is really leaving an impression for me. I know that you asked for one, but it's so difficult to select one which would be making the most impression on me. But I really admired, actually, on 2021, as I remember, there was a London Design Festival, and there was an activation of also one of my most favorites luxury digital couture houses, Ouroboros. There are two founders, Paula and Alyssa. They created a science meets tech meets fashion activation, and it really left a mark on my mind, because it's not only the digital fashion it was there, but they created a possible, a scratch, or let's say, the model of a digital fashion, but they used salt crystals and recycled plastic, which was real-time growing and worn on the artificial intelligence robot Ida. It was totally interactive, totally novel and futuristic, and we can see that the digital fashion brands are coming to the physical space, and also proving that, look, it's not only avatars walking with digital fashion, but we can create some prototypes from design and leverage it to create something totally novel, totally futuristic and engaging, and really out of its world. And they really like this activation. One more, I think, the more digital experience that I really like is right now, all the smart mirrors that can act as a vending machines. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, right now during the Paris Fashion Week, we also had in London, I think, the fabrics from the company from Hong Kong. They created these kiosks that you can come in, you see the smart mirror, you select an item of a fashion that you want, and you literally try it on yourself. And the technology itself is not new, but because the company called Holition introduced it, I think in 2012, maybe, already, these AR powered makeup try on mirrors. So it's not a new technology, but right now the digital fashion is using it as an application, for having shops without inventory, or simply having try before you buy concept. It's really important, because people, for example, try before you buy concept is so important, because people tend to return a lot of things and that we buy online. And it's really a place where, using augmented reality and digital fashion, we can really have decent numbers in reducing these return rates. And or maybe follow made to order model and something like that. So multiple things. There are a lot of them that left a huge mark on my mind from impressive perspective.
Just a quick question, because you mentioned returns. So if you have like a digital fashion and digitally created avatar, or like some accessory, can you return it? And like how would companies deal with this?
That's a very good thing. That's a very actually good concept. However, we don't have returns from digital fashion perspective. However, we do have second hands in the market. So if we purchase an item, most of the digital fashion items can be also as a collectible, can be treated as collectibles. So once we buy it, we don't return it per se. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good idea to think, but right now, but there is a reason behind it's we don't have like returns per se in this market, because digital fashion is purely inclusive and diverse, because it can fit no matter the model, no matter the size, no matter the material, fabric, or design. It can fit to anybody. It can fit to any gender. It can fit to everyone. So this is the really the competitive advantage that I see in digital fashion, or really a nice thing to have, because literally we don't need to be a model to wear a super amazing gala dress, which is a digital one. We can virtually digitally tailor on our body, and it can fit anyone. So it's not that we don't have returns because we don't want them, but it's literally we don't have returns of digital fashion because digital fashion fits everyone. I know that might sound a bit of cringe, but it's the true, because it's totally inclusive and applied to all the kinds of diverse people.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking more like, for example, if you purchase through NFTs, like an accessory, but you mentioned that there is like a secondhand market where you can still kind of sell your accessory. For example, I bought glasses, right? And I become bored wearing the same ones, like my avatar becomes boring. So I return it or sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like we have these platforms where we can buy or purchase or resell our purchase goods. Either it's an NFT, digital collectible. NFT is just a technology. So let's not say that it's that we sell NFT, but digital collectibles, virtual goods, loyalty programs, memberships, anything, you name it. We can always give that uh, always give that option to be circular and really find a way to move forward if you don't like it. And it's not that we throw it away, but someone will pick it up and use it for their own benefit.
So I also have read quite a lot of criticism about this metaverse fashion week or like other platforms, but they are not very user friendly. Some people say, "Oh, it's still boring. You still like have the same like digital avatars." Like, have you noticed any change or improvement, or do you still think there is like more that the companies can do for the user experience?
This is also another tough question. I mean, you ask tough questions, but it's okay. To controversial yet brilliant, because I really like to dive more, deeper than just the surface. So digital enhancements are really, really needed. For example, metaverse fashion week, if we take it as an example, um, we had a lot of people who were dropping off from multiple incredibly created experience from brands only because of the computer were not capable to really access or have the energy or the hard drive, but it was too slow to really speed up the experiences that we had. I had it also on myself. I have I use MacBook Air, and Decentraland, once there's an event or more than 50 people are there on one place, it's actually very, very, a small amount of people. It's for myself. It's only, from my perspective. I'm sharing only my perspective of my computer, and it's I think it's 2018 that I bought this computer. So it's just the hardware is not as good as it could. So right now I'm sometimes I'm struggle to even myself to join amazing experiences because it's still, tech is still developing. So, and I read a couple of articles, saying, oh, we had a huge drop, metaverse fashion week this year is a failure and etc. But actually it's nothing like that, because it's just, the fact that infrastructure and devices are not still here to provide the full immersive experiences that the users would want. And people have been facing these difficulties to join, as myself, to load or access the event. But it was tech. It was nothing related, to people who didn't want to join, and etc. So, and tech is still developing. And I'm a bit actually upset that tech scared people, and we have this multiple metaverse skepticism going around. Because even though they're not called the metaverse, I like, spatial computing, all these technologies. It's not that, metaverse is the future, etc. But but yeah, I totally agree that you say that, it might be too it was definitely not boring, as you mentioned, but because there were a lot of amazing activities, a lot of amazing fashion shows, amazing parties, amazing gatherings together, and it's more, for example, what's the difference between virtual and physical fashion show is that even though we think that, metaverse fashion week directly itself is directing to be as a fashion show oriented event, but in reality inside this metaverse fashion week it's way more than that, because we have it's like a social movement. We have multiple gamified experiences, giveaways, guests, that we need to do, like even scavenger hunts, even parties that happening after fashion shows, and they were a really key part of this experience. So, and here we socialize, interact, and collaborate, and this is the key. It's not that it replicates the physical world, because it could, and most of the multiple of the cases, we have replications of physical world inside virtual world. For some audience, on digital native audience, or any kind of generation, even though it's not digital native, it's not so nice to see, why we should join some virtual experience if we have the same thing in physical space. So this is exactly what the main idea is: the virtual or augmented reality, extended reality, even things that we should provide some kind of next level experience to our users. If we will provide the same, virtual shop, which is like, 360 environment, just a copy paste of the physical environment, I don't find it very engaging or very useful, because I really want, that metaverse on, virtual spaces, environments, and spatial things that we have around ourselves would be more immersive, would be something out of this world, something that people would truly feel that, okay, this is something futuristic, or this is something totally back to earth, but what I cannot feel, or taste, or see, or touch, and etc. So I think all these different experiences, and really experience is also a key word in here. And yeah, so I think it's just a matter of people, how they experience it.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, for these experiences to really catch on, is the bottleneck really then in the hardware, or still something needs to happen psychological for people? Because the way you are describing, it seems that there is this kind of already mounting excitement about this kind of digital spaces, this digital fashion. But do we really just need to cross the technological kind of limitations, and that's going to be it?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think it's a lot of we have a lot of to do with the progress in technological enhancements, because progress will likely occur very incrementally with smaller metaverse like, or virtual augmented reality like experiences emerging before we fully realize this next step of the internet is truly achieved. And I think that here the few critical bottlenecks, what I see from my perspective, is not only across devices and platforms or technical enhancements to be accessible to people, like infrastructure to support people, to support the same people, to solve some privacy and data issues, to develop even an honest and fair distribution of value, and really benefit all the stakeholders as an ecosystem. But I also think that the critical bottleneck that we have is Web2 companies, that we really see them and to be hungry for ruling everything what they see around themselves. And decentralization as a concept is that all users, all the stakeholders of the ecosystem benefits from it, and every user holds their own data within it, or with their wallet and etc. And right now, what we have multiple Web2 companies, social media platforms, they have created and they are using us users as products. And in the ultimate goal for decentralized platforms, the goal is that everyone, as I mentioned, benefits from this ecosystem. And imagine that we, for example, imagine that like an Instagram, just a profile, or any kind of social media, Twitter, TikTok, whatever we use it. We post content there. We really share the most cherished, the most personal, the most honest moments, expecting that someone will, like it, etc. But actually, we are doing such a huge favor for these Web2 companies and platforms to really monetize what we create. Because if we will move towards decentralized, user-owned data concept, that would totally ruin their business models, because they will have to rethink, okay, so now we are not the ones who use data or own data. Right now, user owns the data. So where do we get the money from? That's why, for example, we have multiple different platforms creating these metaverses, and we see, for example, Meta. Even yesterday it was Meta Connect conference that Meta is hosting. Meta X Facebook, is hosting yearly to really represent what kind of enhancements, what kind of updates they have on devices and technologies and etc. And they again confirm that they are still working on this Meta ecosystem, metaverse that they are building, and they are providing all the different devices for it, just for people to be inside that closed ecosystem. They say that it might be open one day. However, my personal, maybe biased opinion, it's not the way we want to do it. They really want all the users to be locked inside that bubble of theirs. And it's really important for us to understand that the more we will let them, the more power they have. So it's not only, coming back to the question, I think it's not only technological enhancements that we need and seamless technology, we are just thinking with our brain waves, and we are immediately dressing up a different, having an option to be dressed up with a different digital fashion item, or etc. Or some kind of. Opportunities are endless, but I also think it's different, underwater bottleneck that we have is that we have so many companies that are in a very good position and they are in a very good comfort zone, not decentralized platforms, not to be successful. It's just my opinion, based on experience.
But a short comment on this. I think the overall kind of trend towards decentralization and social media is already happening because like Meta launched Threads in the summer, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mastodon is actually built on those protocols for decentralization. But I guess having like ownership of data is not like does not still presuppose that everyone is going to jump on these kind of immersive experiences. So hence my question, is this really like a lot of technological limitations to overcome, or still we need like fundamental change in psychology?
Yeah, because also just to add to what you said, Julia, that it's a very complex task because like just practically it's a very complex task because you need like a lot of resources and to build entire like ecosystem that everyone would own their own data and so on. So it's a very nice promise. But for example, now some countries even are blocking cryptocurrencies, right? So how would you achieve that it would be global and that everyone can join? Because else it would become just very elite group, or exactly like one company would create a closed environment, what Odeta was saying, because it's a complex task. And I also agree that perhaps there are some psychological things, and what Odeta, you mentioned already, that perhaps there are generation differences, because you also need to understand how to navigate the system, right? You need to understand how to get this wallet, how to purchase paying using like digital currency. So perhaps not everyone can join it. And even you mentioned hardware. Yes, that's like
at this stage. Yeah, this is a very good point. And at this stage, the gateway to jump into Web3, in some cases, not everything. For example, we have a dematerialized digital fashion platform where you can just simply purchase with your credit card some item, and the wallet will be on Luxo blockchain. It will be created automatically, so you don't need to worry anything about around that. You have your item purchased as in any kind of online shop. But yes, coming back to, if you want to be really really immersed inside the decentralized platforms or environment, you need to think of multiple things. What kind of blockchain you are in, what kind of wallets you have, how do you set up that wallet, how do you secure that wallet, how do you use tokenomics, how do you use or how do you leverage the information that you have around digital twins, how do you use and what kind of cryptocurrencies you have, do you understand on what kind of digital collectible is on what kind of smart contract. Do you use any decentralized app? As you mentioned, Mastodon. Yes, it is decentralized. Threads, it was not a successful project yet. However, we will see how it goes. But also, last but not least, if we are fully immersed into this decentralized world, whether we are a part of DAO, like I'm just thinking, decentralized autonomous organization and etc. To have a voting, to have a token and they have a voting power to do something inside this decentralized Web3 environment. So yeah, multiple things at this stage. So this is why I mentioned that that we still have a lot of development things to really create this experience as a seamless experience. No thinking, couple of buttons clicking couple of buttons and we are here. That's why one-click shops our purchases are very successful in Amazon.
Yeah, because what you mentioned, there is like a lot of mental load, right? The user has to think a lot and has to know a lot. So this is like, yeah, exactly. Either the environment should suggest you something so interesting that you would still be like willing to go through all this loop, or else it should be like very quick and easy to navigate. As you say, like, yeah, that this experience should just be like one click away.
So I wonder, actually, a bit of a switch of a topic, but you actually mentioned this at the beginning. You mentioned sustainability, and I think these days, especially, this is becoming an increasingly important topic for all the right reasons. Um, is let's say this kind of digital fashion or these immersive experiences? I mean, it seems like, at least in terms of fashion, it has the promise of being sustainable, but then you factor in all the computing power that has to go into this. So the question is, how sustainable can this be? So I don't know if you have a viewpoint on this particular aspect.
Yeah, there is no doubt that digital fashion, if we talk about fashion and specifically digital fashion, that it is more sustainable than physical fashion, because it reduces the production costs, environmental impacts associated with traditional fashion production, such as natural resource, using natural resources, chemicals, electricity, transportation, etc. However, it is still indeed requires, and consumes energy. At this stage, we have designers, for example, who are still humans, and they truly use computers, electricity, and also drink water during the process of crafting a digital item. And fashion industry, as you might know, is the second largest and the most polluting industry in the world, and it accounts between 2 to 8%, as I remember, of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And there was a very good article this week in Business of Fashion. Really, listeners, I would recommend to read that, analyzing why fashion was not again on the spotlight during Global Climate Week, which is happening right this week, or last week it was happening. And we were not included again, or we were not even present in these discussions. Only the Sustainable Fashion Association or something like that was present there. But the big, huge conglomerates of the fashion were not there, maybe, due to multiple reasons, like with fashion weeks going on around the world and etc. But it's still they should be there, because climate is changing. There's no doubt to that. There's no way back, and we are really crossing the small line of not coming back, and it is causing significant business risks too. So if we will not have water, if we will not have enough multiple different things like energy and etc., we will not be able, to even produce something. So that's why I really like the digital fashion is coming into the space, because it's not only, virtual things to be worn in virtual worlds. No, we have like digital fashion samples, and on average, again, numbers. I think it was around like less than 90, like 80 something percent of samples go to waste in every fashion brand. So that's why it's so important, to have digital fashion not only wearing it on avatars and, creating additionally, but really replacing and creating something new, creating a new realm of the options to replace the unnecessary physical fashion usage to a and to bringing it to digital realm. This is why we have, for example, virtual showrooms where suppliers can meet brands and to showcase 3D design and prototyping. And this is really leading to the more sustainable ways to do fashion. one more thing that I think really it's good to mention that, for example, there is a platform, a digital fashion platform, which sells multiple amazing digital fashion brands. This is called DressX, and they yearly, I think it's been third or second year, but they are doing a report that's really analyzes the digital fashion industry itself. Based on their report, they are saying that digital fashion emits 97% of 97% less CO2 than production of a physical fashion garment and physical fashion. So on average, they also say it's around 4,000 liters saved of water, even, which is even enough for one person to drink 4.5 years, if I remember. So it's really, multiple things are adding up to be more sustainable. So it's not only, in a gaming environment to wear virtual thing, but it's also multiple prototyping, design, digital twins, samples, everything into place, which really indeed proves that fashion needs digital solutions just to lower the amount of waste they have. I think also, just reminded myself, what answering this question, AI, AI, if we not talk about generative AI, but AI itself as a algorithm, machine learning and data analysis perspective, AI was used multiple years back in the days to forecast what kind of color, what kind of model, what kind of design will be most likable by our audiences, our consumers, and etc., which is really getting better and better in analyzing. And I think that this is also very important for people and for brands to use to understand, okay, so based on data, based on experiences, based on concepts that we saw on social media or etc., how can we produce less but produce more focused? And that would be amazing. However, we have this technology used by Shine, which is the biggest, I think, right now, fast fashion brand, and AI is actually doing a reverse work. They are, Shine is using AI to really see, okay, so this is the social media trend that I spot, and let's produce this. And they are literally creating, I think it's, even weekly or twice a week. I mean, sorry if I'm mistaken, but it's so often they produce so many different items based on analysis of social media trends, behavior of people, consumer ideas, but it really does from a different angle, a different perspective, and a negative effect on the industry. But I think that we should focus more on educate more. This is also one of my missions, that I really try to educate people on how we can use these technologies not as not to create a gap between technology and people, and physical and digital, and not to forget physical, but really to use technology to enhance physical, to help physical world to strive to be more beautiful, to really to help nature to survive, because right now we are balancing between survival and destroy and dystopia, utopia and dystopia. So it's really really sad note.
So do you actually think that digital fashion could also do this opposite thing? Because, for example, now for influencers, let's say for influencers, or even making some ads, you actually have this chain, someone needs to purchase clothes, then put it on, place it themselves in a nice environment. But actually, if you're in digital world and digital fashion, it's so quick. You can change outfits in we are talking about seconds, right? Not you don't have to travel anywhere. So wouldn't it actually influence people to purchase even more things? Or do you think it's about education, what you mentioned?
I don't mind if people who are using this concept buy things, take a photo, and return things physically would switch and buy even more in digital realm. Literally, I would not. Uh, I, I mean, I would love that they would do that, because that would really empower and engage and empower people to buy more digital fashion, which, as I mentioned, based on multiple reports, the digital fashion is less polluting, is better for environment. So if we could change the perception change the perception of people that they don't need physical clothes for their digital content, that would be a huge milestone in the market. And this is what is slowly, is happening, because myself, on digital fashion houses, digital fashion catalysts, we are trying to educate people that, look, you don't need to buy physical clothes just to post a picture inside on your social media, because you will not wear it anywhere else, a second time, because it's just for social media. So why you are using, because we try to say that in order to produce physical item, it costs, so much to everyone, to environment, to people, to workload, to everyone, especially at the first place, to a planet, and then and to the nature. So I hope that we will shift from this. I don't care about, I just need a content to make. I don't care about the planet. I just need content to make, to, okay, maybe I can make content and think of the planet by using digital fashion. And this is what we try to educate, and I would not say push, but I think that sooner or later we will have to push this because but people don't get it. So don't get it. Don't get not we don't get a digital fashion, but we don't get what kind of um, negative impact they do on the physical world.
And I guess perhaps as a last question, actually, so yeah, you are mentioning now education. Is there still another idea that you want to people let go or really change, or something that should be, understood better in terms of kind of the whole environment and the whole topic of, yeah, the metaverse or digital fashion that you really want to people take from this?
Yeah, I think that I would even come back. Thanks for our question, and I think I would really come back to what I just said a minute ago. But to change that, I would really love to change that perception that people would treat digital fashion providing the same benefits on social media as we can use for physical fashion. I think I would stick to that, and I think that there's so multiple amazing activations that we can use around this digital fashion, and we can express ourselves and etc. And people, I would really like to speak more, change that it's not it's not only the physical item that makes you beautiful or wanted or to grab attention on social media, but it's also can be, digital fashion too. So maybe I would stick to that.
Cool. So just like on the more like positive note, like a dreamer note, like what would you like to have if you can have like any fashion brand in the digital fashion industry, or like, I don't know, avatar, something? What would you have yourself personally? Something that is like perhaps not in the actual world. I don't know. You would like wings or abilities.
Yeah, actually, maybe I mentioned a bit, but I will come back to this. But um, from my perspective, a bit more I will say about virtual reality, just for making sure that everyone understands. I am not a huge fan of virtual reality, and personally, really a bit of a skeptic of virtual reality itself. That we, forget the world around ourselves and we just purely immerse ourselves in some kind of environment which is very closed, and we forget our physical world. But I'm really believe and I love extended reality, mixed reality. It's amazing. And digital things that really gives digital and physical, both worlds, some kind of value added on top. And I think that, if and if I would have, one or two items, I mean, I don't care about brands, but I really would like to have, and I hope that we will get it there, that some kind of device that really helps me. It's not yet if you're in the market, but it's coming, that would allow us to dress with sustainable clothing without having a huge wardrobe of physical clothes, but literally having digital items in our digital wardrobes, that with some kind of this physical digital device that shows overlays on our physical bodies, on our physical world, that really enhances it, makes more, makes it more engaging or immersive. I would really look forward for this digital device to be on my list, or to have it on my table or in my brain. It doesn't have to be, a device like a phone or something, because right now we look so much to the screens, everything is screen based. So really look for the post smartphone era, which will be coming, and what we will have later on, with the brainwaves, and etc., something like that. And I really think that if we will focus more on virtual reality, or on only digital fashion or something inside some closed online virtual space, it will not be super relevant, because it will be more, dystopian scenario where physical world will be actually destroyed. And not to be too dramatic, but if physical world will be destroyed, for example, that simply will just make, digital fashion or virtual reality obsolete too. So because there is no meaning of neither virtual fashion or virtual reality, neither any kinds of tech, if we don't have amazing, beautiful nature around us, and if it doesn't exist. So I think that I'm really looking forward to have one bad thing that would enable me to enhance my physical place, and not to stick to screens or virtual spaces only. Not sure if it's answering your question. I know that I'm.
No, definitely. Yeah. I'm also looking forward to talk to you like after several years and see like this coming a reality.